May 22, 2010. A routine flight from Dubai to Mangalore approaches the tabletop runway nestled atop a hill. The pilots are experienced. The aircraft is modern. The weather is calm. But just minutes before touchdown, something goes terribly wrong. Inside the cockpit, alarms blare. Warnings are ignored. And within seconds, a Boeing 737 is off the runway, hurtling down a cliff, into a ravine. 158 lives are lost. Only 8 survive. What could turn a normal landing into one of India's deadliest air disasters? Air India Express Flight 812 is a budget international service operating from Dubai, United Arab Emirates, to Mangalore, India, a coastal city in the south of the country. It's a familiar route for many Indian expatriates returning home. On board the aircraft, 160 passengers and 6 crew members. The aircraft is a Boeing 737-800, tail number VTAXV, equipped with short-field performance enhancements, ideal for challenging runways like Mangalore's. The captain is 55-year-old Zlatko Glusica, a dual British-Serbian national with over 10,000 hours of experience. His co-pilot, 40-year-old Harbinder Singh Ahluwalia, has over 3,000 hours of flying, almost all on the 737. At 1:05 a.m. IST, Flight 9812 takes off from Dubai. The flight is uneventful. Passengers sleep, read, and look forward to reuniting with loved ones. Inside the cockpit, it's quiet. So quiet, in fact, that cockpit voice recordings later reveal long stretches of silence. Unbeknownst to anyone, the captain appears to be asleep for much of the flight. As dawn breaks over southern India, Flight 812 begins its descent into Mangalore. The destination airport, Mangalore International, is unlike most. It sits atop a hill with steep drop-offs on either side. The runway is only 8,033 feet long. Precision and accuracy are non-negotiable. At 5:46 a.m., the aircraft begins its final approach to runway 24. But from the start, something isn't right. The 737 is too high. Too fast. It's descending at a steep angle, much higher than the standard glide slope. Warnings from the cockpit systems begin to sound.
Terrain.
The co-pilot recognizes the danger. Standard procedure in this situation is simple: execute a go-around, abort the landing and try again. But the captain does not act. Despite being prompted multiple times, he presses on. At 6:05 a.m., the aircraft touches down. But not where it should. Instead of landing in the touchdown zone, the aircraft makes contact more than 4,600 feet into the runway, over halfway down. With less than 3,400 feet remaining, the pilots now face a grave problem. They are traveling at over 160 knots. The aircraft systems deploy spoilers and automatic brakes. But the thrust reversers are activated only briefly. Then suddenly, they are cancelled. Investigators later determine the captain may have tried a late go-around, a maneuver strictly prohibited after deploying reversers. The engines surge, but it's too late. The end of the runway is fast approaching. Flight 812 blasts through the end of the runway. It crashes through the localizer antenna and perimeter fence. Beyond the cliff edge lies a ravine, 200 feet deep. The Boeing plunges downward. The fuselage shatters. The right wing ignites as fuel spills into the terrain. Flames engulf the wreckage. Inside, chaos. Some passengers are killed instantly by the impact. Others, trapped by wreckage and fire, perish within seconds. But a few, just 8, manage to survive. Dragging themselves from the twisted metal, they stumble into the morning haze, injured but alive. Emergency services rush to the site, but the steep terrain delays rescue efforts. By the time they arrive, it's too late for most. India awakens to grim headlines. A passenger plane has crashed in Mangalore. It is the worst air disaster in India in over a decade. But how did an experienced captain, in clear weather, land halfway down a runway, and fail to stop? The answers lie buried in cockpit voice recordings, flight data logs, and a trail of fatigue, silence, and overlooked warnings. The investigation reveals a chilling case where the greatest threat was not mechanical, but human. May 22, 2010. Air India Express Flight 812 crashes during landing at Mangalore Airport, plunging off a runway perched atop a hill. "158 lives are lost. Just 8 survive." What led a modern jet to overshoot a clear runway? As investigators arrive on scene, they're faced with a haunting question: was this a case of pilot error, or something deeper? In the hours following the crash, the wreckage of Flight 812 lies smoldering at the base of a gorge. Rescue teams comb through debris to recover the black boxes, the cockpit voice recorder, CVR, and the flight data recorder, FDR. By day's end, both are retrieved. Data from the FDR confirms what was feared: the aircraft touched down too far along the runway, over 5,000 feet in. With less than half the runway left, stopping was nearly impossible. But it's the cockpit voice recorder that tells the most disturbing story. The CVR begins recording 2 hours before the crash. For over 100 minutes, the cockpit is eerily silent. Then, a sound no one expects to hear on a live flight: snoring. The captain had been asleep for most of the cruise. Investigators conclude he was suffering from sleep inertia, a state of cognitive impairment following abrupt awakening. As the plane descends toward Mangalore, the co-pilot maintains control. But when the captain awakens just before the approach, he takes over the landing. His decisions become increasingly questionable. The aircraft is high, fast, and unstable on approach. Terrain warning systems trigger: sink rate, pull up. But the captain disregards them. The co-pilot suggests a go-around not once, but 3 times. Each time, the captain insists on landing. By the time the aircraft touches down, the outcome is sealed. Investigators now focus on why the co-pilot didn't take control. At Mangalore, classified as a critical airfield, only captains are authorized to land. Airline SOPs prohibit co-pilots from assuming control during approach, even in emergencies. Investigators determined this rigid chain of command contributed to the crash. The first officer knew the approach was unsafe. But CRM, crew resource management, broke down. The junior officer lacked the authority, or confidence, to override his senior. Instead, he watched in silence as disaster unfolded. The final blow? A last-second attempt to go around after the plane's reverse thrust was already deployed, something prohibited in Boeing manuals. The engines surged, but physics had already won. The official investigation concludes that pilot error, fatigue, and failed communication caused the crash. Recommendations follow swiftly. Airlines are told to review fatigue management policies. Crew resource management training is intensified, empowering co-pilots to speak up, regardless of rank. The rules for critical airfields are revised, allowing for more flexibility in cockpit command transitions. Indian aviation authorities adopt new alertness monitoring and rest hour standards for pilots. For the families of the 158 victims, answers bring little comfort. But the lessons learned have saved lives since. Air India Express Flight 812 stands as a somber reminder. Technology alone can't prevent disaster. In aviation, clear communication, alertness, and accountability are what keep planes, and passengers, safe. And sometimes, one missed call for a go-around is all it takes.